Welcome back to One-on-One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U, in studio with his career and life coach and author of the book, Thoughts from My Kids and Other People's Kids. Kirk McCarley's in the house, man. How are you, brother?
I'm wonderful, you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's mine, brother. Customarily, we always ask our guests to come in and kind of, from the outset, share about your childhood and your upbringing. Kind of let us know how you got from there to where you are now. Go for it.
I grew up in Texas, Fort Worth specifically, and as a kid, had a pretty stable background, two-parent household, had an older sister, turned on to sports probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old and enjoyed participating. But one of the things that I was really fascinated with was the mathematical or statistical aspect of that. And I'll get to that in just a moment. So growing up in Fort Worth, that was a hotbed of Texas Christian University. Hung out around TCU. It was just down the street from where I hung out. Cool. Ended up going to school at University of North Texas and met my wife there. And also met some brothers, fraternity brothers, that got me involved actually in the sports broadcasting industry a little bit later on after that. Upon graduation, my wife and I, we lived in Oklahoma for a short while, Texas, eventually moved to Missouri, and then ended up here in Northwest Florida, where we now reside. Two kids, one in Savannah, one outside Chicago, and they've been very productive, 7 grandkids to go along with our son and our daughter.
You got me beat, man. We got
I should. I'm older.
Yeah. That's true, man. You do got me about some years, though. But that's awesome, man. I love hearing the story, man. I definitely want to get into some sports. I know we both share a love for sports, so that could potentially dominate this conversation. So for all our listeners and viewers, just understand I still deal with sports. I got a show that's about sports, so this could potentially happen. This may be the episode where it happens. So we might be talking about sports for the majority of the time, but we'll see how it goes. But I would definitely love to hear about where your love for sports started. I know in Texas, everything is big in Texas, especially football. So perhaps that's already the answer. But where'd your love for sports start with? I know you're doing some things now in your latter years, if you will, where you're doing some stuff with sports where it's like it kind of comes all full circle. So where'd your love for sports come from, Kirk?
Pre-adolescence. Actually, true story. I was pretty uncoordinated, kind of dorky as a kid. And so much so that the school authorities had an actual meeting with my parents, and they said, you need to toss the ball around with this kid and get him outdoors running just a little bit more than he's doing now. He's pretty weak on the sports field. So when I was in 3rd grade, they got me involved in a Pee Wee League of basketball, and I just grew to love it. And of course, I would love basketball in a football state, but that's beside the point.
Sure.
I got interested in it, fell in love with it, went on to play in junior high school and in high school for a while. But again, as I shared earlier, the numerical aspect of it was what was fascinating to me. What is the possibility that this next pass is going to be completed in football, that this basket is going to be made in basketball, or that this batter is going to end up getting a base hit? All those decimals, and we didn't have calculators at that time. So having to do longhand division in my head in order to come up with the answer was burdensome, but it turned out to be a gift later on.
Wow. I love numbers in sports too. I guess that's why we do fantasy football. But no, I'm totally into it, man. But I love to hear some of the stories of your sports broadcasting journey, because the story is amazing. I love hearing about it, and I love for you to share it with our viewers and listeners. You kind of can start wherever you like to on that one. We may spend some time there, so go ahead, have fun.
On to college, University of North Texas, just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we had access to a lot of sports. Professional sports was still relatively new. The Texas Rangers, when I was in high school, had relocated from Washington. They were the Senators, and we got a baseball franchise. Later on, the NBA came to the area, but we had the American Basketball Association
Right,
with the
right.
red, white, and blue ball. Before that, in the 3-point shot, and of course, we had football with the Dallas Cowboys. So we also had
Boo. Boo. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Go ahead.
Sorry, Texas fans, but I ceased being a Cowboy fan after Super Bowl V in 1971 because they lost on a last-second field goal to the Baltimore, at the time, Colts. And I swore I would never root for that team again. And I can be stubborn, and I was in that instance.
You
Of course,
are.
what they do, they won the Super Bowl the next year. But anyway, we had a fertile bed for college and professional sports.
Yeah.
We had a strong broadcast communications program at University of North Texas. Where I went, I roomed with a broadcast communications major. Across the hall was an IT guy, which what's the connection with sports? Through our broadcast communication connection, he eventually got connected with the Dallas Cowboys, became the statistician for radio broadcast, and has been doing that for over 40 years now.
Oh, wow.
Another guy in another area of fraternity house. He became the beat writer for the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News. Then there was my roommate, who became the first play-by-play announcer for the Dallas Mavericks when they got the expansion franchise back in 1981. He later on broadcast Southwest Conference football, and that's how I came to having that connection then. Now,
wow, it's amazing.
The group of us guys, we didn't have cable broadcast then. There was no ESPN, so it would be NBC, CBS, ABC, the major networks pre-cable. And we would watch the broadcast. We'd listen to what the announcers were saying, and we would talk over them. And one of our favorites was Kirk Gowdy. Goes way, way back. And Gowdy loved to make reference to a young ball player, maybe a rookie, and he would say often, his future lies ahead of him. We would all look at each other and nod our heads and agree, yes, it does, in a sarcastic sort of a way. So that's kind of how we all connected and how we got into that and gained a lot of knowledge.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. I mean, most people who are, well, I know several who watch this show that I've done collaborations and some content creation and some podcast panelists work with them. And being a sports broadcaster would probably be a dream come true for them. Was it that for you? What did it look like when it happened?
Fast forward, it's still a dream come true for me 37 years later. And I start my 37th season this week with college football, week 1. But getting that initial access to Southwest Conference football at that time, before the conference disbanded, as a TCU Horned Frog fan growing up, going to see Texas Tech and Texas A&M and Arkansas play in person in games all over that conference, it was a dream come true. I'd have to pinch myself. There were statistics that were being shared, and the official stat people would actually bring those by the booth, and I could study them and to some degree disagree with who they had credited a rush attempt to or a field goal attempt to in basketball, and kind of shrugging my shoulders, nodding my head and saying, how did they come up with that? And I would realize they just kind of threw something in there. It's not necessarily accurate.
Okay. So sound like you were doing some de facto broadcasting and statistician work. Does that sound pretty accurate? You're kind of into both of them.
For my voice or to me to be mentioned on a broadcast, there was usually something I did which wasn't so good. But occasionally, this is pre-professional broadcast days, my broadcast communication major would allow me to tag along as he carried his radio, his tape recorder, and would broadcast high school basketball games that were in the area of Denton, Dallas, and Fort Worth. So I got a little bit of an initial introduction to that then. He would also send me out to do reports of high school football games, particularly during the playoffs in Texas, which was a big deal. People would listen into that at the time because there wasn't an internet to give live reporting. It was a summary after the game had already taken place.
I love it, man. I love you to share. If you got one or two, some awesome memories from your time in sports. I know it's still pending. Some sports stories. Love you to share those, man. That'd be great. Great to hear those.
These are going to be broadcast booth stories.
Sure.
Season 1, Lubbock, Texas. Texas Tech is playing, I don't recall now, but I certainly recall what happened, not on the field, but in the stands. And that was at that time, before we had the exposure of Janet Jackson's breast, everything was broadcast live. And there wasn't a 3 to 5 second delay so we could clean things up. This really was in real time, as you and I are in real time right now. So we had a 10-second count to fade to commercial, and we took a cute shot. It was a 3-year-old girl sitting in daddy's lap watching the game, and we were summarizing what had happened to that point, fading to commercial. 10, 9, 8. You could hear that in my ears as they were broadcasting, or they were communicating from the truck to us, letting us know the countdown to commercial. When we hit about 7, the little girl, the 3-year-old, we could see a finger rising to her face, and about 6, it entered a nostril. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this? 5, 4, withdrawn. 3, 2, and into the mouth. 1, 0, we're into commercial, and we are losing it at that time. How are you going to recover from that as your close? Traumatic if you're watching from home. Our astute color analyst came back from commercial. He said, I've got this. And he brought the crowd, or brought the viewers back by stating, don't let anybody ever tell you that we don't know how to pick them in Southwest Conference football. So a memorable segue out of that.
I love it, man. I love this. You had so many diverse assignments, man, and I'll try to be good and not talk all about sports, because the coaching work you're doing is really important too. So I want to give it the time it deserves. But you got some connections with ESPN. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're doing there. As much as you want to share about it, by all means, feel free, and then we'll get into your work as the seed sowing coach. So go ahead and share about your ESPN history there.
I onboarded, along with my broadcast communication guy, in 1996, and it was a perfect transition, because in 1995, the Southwest Conference ceased to be. Some of the schools merged into what was the Big 8 at the time, became the Big 12, and you had the TCUs, the SMUs, the Houstons, Rices, all basically fending for themselves. Arkansas had already left in 1992 to go to the Southeastern Conference.
Okay, yeah.
At that time, ESPN had been around for 15, 16 years, but it was basically ESPN. You didn't have the multiple of networks that now exist. So ESPN2 came into being, and our first assignment with them was to broadcast college football games. So immediately we have access to not just Texas and Arkansas and the 4-state region, including Oklahoma and Louisiana as well. But we were going coast to coast, north to south, all over the country, and seeing Big Ten, Pac-10, Pac-12 later, SEC games all over the place. So that was exciting. It was also fun to be the A crew for a new network that had just emerged at that point in time. We did that for 12 years. My buddy went to become the broadcaster for the Texas Rangers, and I stayed with ESPN, and that was in 2009. I'm still there. He is back now teaching student journalists and broadcasting the tools of the trade, how to be an effective communicator a good journalist from a communication standpoint. So that is how that transition took place for me. And ESPN has been a marvelous network to work for. I can't say enough good things about them.
No, I love it, man. It's very good very pleasant to hear that because you don't hear that very often, especially these days with the changes going on with them in regards to their programming and things. Does that impact you at all? What they're doing with the network and kind of with the networks, I should say. Does that impact your work at all? Does that affect you at all?
The fortunate thing for me, is I'm in many ways hidden away in the organization as an
Okay.
hourly employee. It's good to not be in a leadership capacity, and I've been very satisfied with what I've had the opportunity to do. So, change certainly impacts us, and there's always something new that's being rolled out. But for me, particularly as a coach, it's good to be impacted by these kinds of things as an employee because when I work with clients and they speak to me about change, I'm experiencing it.
Oh
I'm not a
yeah.
spring chicken anymore. So I know a little bit of what they're having to adjust to. And in order to have empathy with that, I better look at myself in the mirror in the morning before I go to complain and say to myself, son, this is change. You better go figure it out if you want to keep your job.
No, I love that. Before we start getting into your coaching work, which I'm definitely excited to hear you talk about, I want to ask you a quick question, make a request to you. For those that are watching and listening, potentially whether it's here live or on the replay, and they are starting new ventures a little later in life, and they're already starting to make maybe perhaps some excuses about why they probably shouldn't do it or why it wouldn't work. Speak to those people. What would you say to them to encourage them to keep it going?
That's an interesting question to ask, and I'll share a similar response with you that someone was asking me about this morning.
Okay.
Sometimes these dreams are huge, they're the size of the elephant. So, how do you take a bite of that elephant? It's one bite at a time. For example, let's say someone has a interest post-career, post-professional career. I want to have impact. And a way to have impact is to become a teacher. Let's say, for example, that's overwhelming on the surface because maybe your background is not in teaching. You've done a little bit of training and employee development. But to go back to school and get an education degree, maybe a master's in education, that's going to be a time investment. It's going to be a monetary investment. And it's going to be some time before you actually get to practice that. Let's try the shoes on for size first. What's an alternative approach? The school districts that I'm familiar with around here in Northwest Florida, they are always looking for substitute teachers. Ask to be a substitute. You'll make a little bit of money doing it, but you'll also get a little bit of a taste and a flavor for what is involved with teaching. Let's say you have a green thumb and you've always wondered what it would be like to work in the nursery or some horticulturally related business. A lot of the greenhouses, a lot of the nurseries that are maybe in a particular area, they're looking for people to staff up on a part-time basis. Go get a little bit dirty, go get hot and
Mm.
sweaty or cold in the wintertime. See what that's like. If you still have that interest, there are extension agencies to get involved with to learn further about that, to educate yourself. And what I found, I go to nurseries, I go to schools. Some of the people that are most helpful are the ones that are so-called veterans. They've been around for a long, long time. They have a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and they can be quite effective in those kind of venues. So to summarize,
Awesome.
a little bit at a time. Don't go all in, experiment. And I think there's a lot of value in hiring a coach to help you walk through some of the possibilities that may be there. That's how I got into coaching. I
I love that.
hiring a coach, and it was a great decision for me.
I love that. I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that, brother. Uh, when I watch sport, it could just be the nerd in me. When I watch sports, I am looking at the plays. I'm looking at the plays, but I'm also looking at the numbers too. I'm also curious about what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know why my mind goes to those places. Nobody I sit and watch games with care about that kind of stuff. It's just me. But from a production standpoint, from being behind the scenes, if you will, what would you want people to know about that perhaps we may find interesting, we might find insightful about what goes on behind the scenes, off the field, in the production broadcasting realm? What do you think we find interesting or notable, or something that you think we should know? Share that.
A couple of weeks ago, I was doing a soccer match in Tallahassee. Florida State was hosting Florida. Florida came out with some very clever uniforms. You were talking about numbers. Their regular primary colors are kind of a royal blue and orange. This time they switched to a black jersey with royal blue numbers that, as I recall, may have been outlined in a faint orange. But to make a long story short, I couldn't read those numbers. I couldn't tell if it was 23 coming onto the field or 43. I pulled out binoculars, and for the life of me, I couldn't make that out. That was critical information for our play by play broadcaster. I did my best. I have my eyes checked every year with contact lenses. It's corrected to 2015. I still couldn't make that out. So the frustration that goes with that, and all the viewer at home is knowing, is why didn't they let us know what that substitute was? You don't want to give inaccurate or made up information. So not preferred, but always preferable to not give any data if you can't be 99% certain that you're getting it right.
That makes a lot of sense, man. Thanks for sharing that, man. Let's talk about with the time that we have left. Let's talk about the Seed Sower Coach. Tell me how he was born.
I hired a coach myself. This was late in my human resources career, which is what I did for some 35, 36 years. And when I got towards the tail end of that career, I, like many people, wanted to do something else. Retirement doesn't sit well with me. Golf doesn't agree with me. I just get mad. So what is it that I want to do to cobble all these years of experience that I picked up, maybe a little bit of wisdom, to have impact on someone else? I hired a coach and brainstormed some options, one of which was classroom teaching. That had appealed to me. I thought about therapy. Counseling has been of great benefit to me at challenging points in my life. I thought about faith-based ministry because I've been, as a Christ follower, enjoyed teaching Sunday school, helping my wife out when she was doing youth ministry work. But again, it was the investment of time. And so about the third meeting I had with this coach, I said to him, I want to do what you do. It's a pretty nice transition from what I've been doing in HR. It doesn't require a tremendous amount of investment in terms of additional schooling. There was some of that, but it's something that when this HR career is over with, I can jump into, transition to fairly smoothly. So that's how the decision was made. I invested in getting some education, eventually getting certified. And it was late in 2016, about 9 years ago, they actually hung out the shingle and got to that point again, looking at myself in the mirror. You can complain about this, son, when people aren't connecting with you or you're not getting traction, but you better figure it out. And those kinds of things make me a better coach because it puts me in the shoes of many of the people that are my clients.
I love that. And for you, in a sentence, who's your ideal client, Kirk?
One sentence: eager, motivated, and seeking would be three characteristics that I would apply to that. I could break that down further, but you asked for one sentence, so there is one incomplete sentence.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. What have you learned about yourself while coaching other people? I love to hear the answers to questions like that? What have you learned about you while coaching other people?
I've discovered my own self-confidence. I've had a
Great.
coach myself. And one of the things that he mentioned to me as we go through those limiting beliefs, and we all have them, those periods of self-doubt. You've been on this earth a long time, Kirk. You've gotten to the point you need to trust yourself.
Mm.
And as a coach, I can Monday morning quarterback a meeting. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have said this. But oftentimes, trust yourself for what you did do. Because what I found in life is those times when you feel you're so articulate and you've really made a difference, it may not have resonated with the other person. It's maybe those times that you're the C student and you're struggling with things just a little bit. And oh, I babbled through that and I've gone on and on and on, or I've just spent this whole time listening to you. That's when you're being most impactful.
I love that. All right, we got a few questions left I can't let go by, so we're going to try to move a little bit quicker, and then we get to the end of the episode. Now, I heard something about an IronMan. Talk to us about what that's about, because we have to talk about the Marvel character, I'm sure. So, what are we talking about when we hear Iron Man? What's that about?
Iron Man relates to the iron, or I should say carbon, that I ride often, which is my bike. I'm a spin instructor, and so I'm performing 1/3 of the Ironman, not so much swimming or running anymore, but I've had the opportunity to pedal across Iowa 10
Oh,
times,
wow.
Georgia 7 times, and have done a number of century rides. That's 100 miles or more in one day. I've done 28 of those since 2010. What is the fascination with that besides physical exercise? It's for me, going back to numbers and statistics, watching the numbers on the odometer and the speed. I'm fascinated with that. And so I'm in self competition to try to better my performance from the last time that I did it.
That's insane, but I actually get it. That just goes to show you where I am, I guess. But just a few more questions, really quickly. But you've done something that I think is so awesome that people only dream about doing, and it sounds like you've actually done what is on many folks' bucket list, if you will. You traveled to all 50 states. That's some. Is that right?
My wife and I have now set foot in all 50 states. We claimed Alaska 2 years ago. But the people that I really want to call out, I heard this on the radio a few weeks back. There are 70 folks in the US that have not just been to every state, but every county of every state. And there's something like 3,100 or more counties. I'm not
Is
going to
that even
join that
possible?
club.
Is
I'm
that
not going to
possible?
join that club. That is a feat. So I'm content with 50 at this point, and let's go see some foreign countries. And there's a few of those states like Hawaii that I'd like to get back to.
Unbelievable. Every county and every. I can't even fathom what kind of number we're talking about. That's outstanding. But before we get to our final question for the episode, I want to ask you something just for this is an opportunity for you to kind of just share your thoughts on this on legacy, because something that we talked about a little bit in our pre-interview. But at the end of the day, what do you want to be known for? Hi, Mr. McCarley.
Yes, that's Miss McCarley who has made her appearance there in the background.
I love it. She didn't even say hi. She didn't even wave it. I'm like, how rude.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll talk about that at supper.
Okay.
It's that I
Oh,
word, impact. Being
impact.
able to have made a difference in the life of someone. We want to impact the world, the 7, 8 billion people that live here, but it's like the example of the many starfish who have washed up on the shore, and the young boy who is one by one tossing them back into the ocean one at a time. The old wise man approaches him and said, "Son, what are you doing?" "I'm throwing starfish back in the sea." And he says, "Look at all the thousands, the tens of thousands that are washed up. You can't possibly be making a difference." And the young man's response was, "I did to this one." So even if it's just one or three or five people
That's good.
to have had an impactful life, that's what I seek to do. And that goes into the connections that I have the opportunity and the honor of doing with individuals.
I love it, man. Thanks for sharing that, brother. Final question of the episode, unless you say something crazy. Final question of the episode. It's our
Let me think
CMV
of something crazy.
It's our CMV question: career, mission, and vocation. Just temporarily, with all due respect, I'm going to temporarily wipe everything you've done off the table professionally, career-wise, even hobbies. It's all removed. What is Kirk most likely to be doing right now?
Riding my bike. If all that is taken away,
Riding your bike.
I'll start on a mission to go ride my bike, to connect with people along the way, and to find tribes to connect with, people who I share some similarities with, but not total similarities, a diverse group of individuals, because that is what I'm so blessed with, is having friends and acquaintances all over the country, people to stay with when I come to their town, and just
Oh, cool.
having that richness of longevity in order to make connection or everything to be stripped away. It's those relationships that would be most dear. One, secondly, my faith, which is what overrides all that,
Yeah,
and looking to God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, to guide me through whatever it is that is an obstacle in front of me.
I love it, man. Very profound, brother. It's been an honor to have you on here, man. Thanks for sharing your story with us and with our listeners. It means so much to me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm going to give you the last 2 minutes of our show, brother. This is just for you. Let folks know where they can find the Seed Sower Coach and what they should expect when they find him. Go for it.
I'm located in Northwest Florida. Technology allows me access to people not just all over North America, but I've had some clients in the Eastern Hemisphere as well. And that's a lot of fun to try to figure out those time zone differences. I am online, I'm in social media. You can find my name, Kirk McCarley, in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I've got a couple of websites, the seedsowercoach.com being my coaching website, kirkmccarleyauthor.com being my author website. And plug my book there, Thoughts from My Kids and Other People's Kids.
I love it.
There it is. Were you to engage with me as a client, you'll be encouraged. You will, I think, come out of our meetings feeling more positive, higher level of self-confidence, maybe a little bit challenged from being challenged to go beyond limiting beliefs to a place that you don't even think is possible to get to. My goal is continual improvement with a client, however they define that as being, to identify or better identify their values, to come up with their vision for where they want to be, and to define what their mission in life is to be. So we'll focus on that, whether you're seeking life coaching or what I do more of, executive and career coaching. What are your values? Why is that needed in the work environment? So those would be expectations. I would love to have an opportunity. Some of the listeners, viewers that are out there who are looking to a coach to engage with, give me a holler.
I love it, man. Thank you, Kirk, for jumping in here and spending time with us today, man. Your story is profound and very, very interesting. So thank you for taking the time. For all you viewers and listeners that are watching the show live, You can find it on all the social media platforms. Of course, also on the YouTube channel, youtube.com They Call Me Mr. U. And of course, on all the socials. And of course, Kirk is going to be available. You have his information. I believe it's the seedsowercoach.com. And of course, his email is kirk@theseedsowercoach.com. So reach out to him, let him know what you think about his story, questions you have for him regarding his broadcasting career, or even his coaching that he's doing presently right now. So reach out to him, show him some love. And thanks for showing us love on this show. Thanks for listening and watching One-on-One with Mr. U. Have a fantastic day.